Hello people, I couldn't help but come out here in the dark. I have been faffing with WLED, I have made a few changes, and we have it. We have lighting effects. We have a panel along here, and our LED strip down the side is pulsing. So that tells us it is charging. We have effects and we have it working. This is amazing. From sourcing the right battery and making it output power, learning the battery emulator and choosing the right inverter, then getting both of these things to work together in a refined way, through to upgrading the electric supply to 3-phase and changing the consumer unit, and mounting this battery to the wall. Now it's time to make this 60 kWh Tesla Powerwall look pretty. The Tesla Powerwall that Tesla didn't make. The Tesla Powerwall you can't buy. The Tesla Powerwall I made. So if I remember right, Okay people, so our ACP panels have arrived. We have already attached this first one, this little one. It's got 3 magnets holding this up, and that is working fine. Easy peasy, because the back side is being held up by the Unistrut. So now let's try and do the same thing with some larger panels, hey? We'll start with this one up here. So this is our board, which I've not had a good look at yet. Wow, difficult for me to show it you in here, but we have a Tesla cutout here. Well, that didn't go as planned, did it? Hello people, so our first panel is up. I tried magnets like I mentioned in a previous video, and on a flat surface the magnets just want to slide. So we have a couple of brackets underneath our 2 clamps in the corners. These have been sat for a couple of days gluing or bonding. I've been using Sikaflex 221, which is an adhesive which is designed for metals, and that has bonded all our magnets on, and they're stuck on nice and strong. I scratched away some of the surface to roughen it up just so it adheres a little bit. So we'll see how strong they are. Let's put this camera down and I'll remove these clamps and see if this thing stays up here, right? The whole point of these panels, that's my clamp. Whew, I thought it was the panel, The whole point of these panels, these 2 front panels, is that they're removable. So magnets alone isn't enough, but with these hooks, it's a similar thing to what I plan with the bottom. Well, that seems to be up still. Well, there we are. So magnets all around, and we have brackets on the perimeter, which then match up with the hooks on this end. Looking good. Let's go put this one out the way.
Are you listening? Damn.
So that top panel up there, along with the one here, which I'll reveal in a second, needs its backing opaque panel. I'll get back to that later in the video. We're going to have some LEDs there, aren't we? But for now, let's get unboxing the other large panel that's going to go here, hey? I've been super impressed with the company that I purchased these panels off. The communication was fantastic. There was a difference in one of the parts, so they just confirmed that with me. Fantastic. We avoided errors that way. And everything has been packaged perfectly inside these wooden frames and wrapped up with all this insulation. So everything has turned up to me exactly as I wanted it so far. Now these guys know how to package. We've got foam, and then inside we have plastic. Not like the Unistrut that we had delivered a while back, where they had tape that was attached to every single piece of Unistrut. I think you should be shot for that, and possibly don't do that again. Find another way. It could be that they use the plastic pallet wrap things that tie down. And I spent a good hour or two removing that tape, including sticker remover, because I didn't want that on there. But let's get this large one out, clear this packaging away, and work out what we're doing with it, hey? I think you should be shot for that. This is what I'm hoping when people come and visit, this stands out and they're like, what is that? But not as in your face as a battery on a wall, hey? Okay, so I would say that writing looks backwards from here. So this should be our backside. There's not really enough room to move it in here. I'm gonna have to go that way or that way, aren't I? 1 minute. I guess stick the panel above on so I know where that needs to come to. I just don't want to knock it down again. This is quite heavy. But let's just take a moment. There we are. The Tesla logo and the Tesla logo. We'll get these backlit, but first we will get this panel mounted and get the brackets secured. Now, with this video, there ended up being a lot of back and forth. While you wait for one panel to glue, you can then get on with another one. And while that panel's gluing, you can get on with the lights in that area. And it just meant that I was doing basically 3 different tasks at any one time, flicking back and forth between them. So that does mean in this footage you might end up seeing one part complete while we explain another part. But I've tried to rewrite and reword and work out how I'm doing this video 3 times, and this is the best I can come up with. Okay, so that is now secured against there, and I've used every single clamp that I have in my possession, including this antique 50-year-old clamp, and down here, the tripod. Yeah, we've used that too. And this has got to do its thing, and it's going to take a couple of days. So why don't we leave this and go and mess with WLED, and we can work out how we can make some lights on this, do what we want it to do, which includes putting some acrylic frosted panels behind this, and I'll get talking about that as well. So WLED, what on earth is that? How does it work? How am I going to use it? Well, I don't really know. Let's find out. Okay, so WLED. What on earth is it, and how can it help us? If this battery is going to stand out and perhaps more importantly look like a Frankenstein Tesla Powerwall, being roughly twice the size, we can create some LED effects that are informative and entertaining. Tesla put a green strip down the sides of their Powerwalls. We want to produce a green strip lighting effect, but it's so much more than that. We can provide a state of charge and information to show whether the battery is charging or discharging. All of this through 121 LEDs. Why 121? Well, that's the number of LEDs that fit into my 2-meter long channel with the strips that I purchased. 60 LEDs per meter. Okay, cool. So how? Addressable LEDs, that's how. The closest I've got to smart LEDs is a screw-in hue bulb or a few LEDs that come with a remote, having basic effects that give a loose interpretation of the colour you're after. So this is going to be a learning curve. Since we have roughly 12 volts output from the battery, it makes sense to use 12 volt LED strips. Actually, 14 volts from the battery, but my research says it'll be fine. This narrows my choices down, and I went with WS2815 LED strips. An addressable LED strip with a backup data line using 50/50 RGB LEDs. As I found out, connecting power to these doesn't light them up at all, not even white. This is where WLED comes in. This is software which runs on an ESP32 board, something which no doubt you're familiar with, as this is the basis for the battery emulator and quite a few Internet of Things devices that you'll find in the average home. I started counting how many of these there is on my Wi-Fi network, and it's at least between 5 or 10 ESP32 devices. WLED comes with a whole range of built-in effects by providing data down the data line to the LED strip. As each LED is individually controllable, this gives you quite a range of options with an LED strip. The particular effect that I'm interested in is called percent. I did try other effects such as breathe, and to be honest, I can't even remember. There was quite a few, and they almost did what I needed them to do, but just not quite. So this needs some hardware. During my testing, I connected a simple ESP32 board flashed with WLED. And through one of its GPIO pins connected to the data line, I was able to liven up the LED strip. Remember, the strip that I mentioned earlier wouldn't come alive without that data line for communication. Okay, so just briefly, these LED strips have a data line, but the data needs to come from one direction. It can't go the other way. So I was trying everything, thinking there was something wrong with some of the coding I'd put in place. I checked if there was voltage at the strip, and there was, but it was just that data line. And because I'd sealed it and put its capping on, you wouldn't necessarily have known it. So I took the capping off, and as soon as I saw it, I saw the triangle arrow, which tells you that data has to go that way. Just a little oversight at my end, but it did cost me about an hour in trying to faff and work out what the heck has gone on with this thing. But there we are making progress. But since I want a few separate LED channels for the sides and for the front faces, each one doing different things, I need a few more channels, or segments as WLED calls them. This means that I'd need to choose some more appropriate hardware that was a little bit more robust for long-term use. I mean, I could use the ESP32 and add a bit more hardware onto it, but in comes the Quin-Dig Quad. A 4-channel LED controller. Within a couple of weeks, this turned up all the way from China. This is where the steep learning curve came in. Now I have a controller which is able to carry out effects that don't quite match what I need, and an LED strip that I'm able to actively control each individual LED, changing its brightness and color. We should be able to create the effect that I'm after. But this turned out to be about as difficult as it is for me to swim in the bath. Yeah. Let's break this down. So taking our side LEDs, we want to control the LED based on the state of charge of the battery and whether the battery is charging or discharging. There's quite a few ways that we can do this. The battery emulator comes with MQTT, which I've added into Home Assistant, but my inverter also is in Home Assistant. Home Assistant allows me to individually have all of my data from different devices as entities. Some of them to give information, to make decisions or create automations, and others you can change and program. This is how I control my battery to force charge or discharge cycle through the Fox integration. The app or the web server doesn't give me that option. Okay, so we need some code which will take the state of charge of the battery and turn that into something that we can see and visualize. Some of the effects built into WLED almost seem perfect, but they have just one color. So you can have green and black or off. But I wanted the entire LED strip to be lit to some degree. I might need to turn the brightness of these effects down at night. That's quite a green glow out there. And you can even make out that it pulses.
What is that green glow coming from the neighbours? Huh? What is it?
The pulsing is worse when it's fully charged because the brightness is 100%. With this constant low backlight, if you were to look at it when it was dark, you get a sense of the charge level, as you can see the full range of the battery percent. I also think it just looks better that way. So we need a dim green LED background and then a much brighter green LED to show the level of charge of the battery. This percentage needs to be mapped to the number of LEDs on our side panels. My inverter also reports to Home Assistant kilowatts charging and kilowatts discharging. If the battery is charging, then we can pulse these LEDs up to the state of charge. And if it's discharging, we can pulse down from the state of charge. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But my natural abilities with LED strips and coding in Home Assistant were and still are limited, just like my ability to swim in the bath. So, I put this to ChatGPT to avoid touching as much of the icky YAML as I possibly could. And for those that know Home Assistant, know what I'm on about there. And as usual, ChatGPT doesn't get it right. It understood what I wanted to do as an overall picture, and each time we made progress, we made one step back in another way. Eventually, after lots of back and forth, we broke it down into sections and was able to produce this effect. Oh wait, not that one. That was one of my many failed attempts with ChatGPT. So with the side panels built and working on the test bench, my living room when the kids have gone to bed, we can get mounting these side panels onto the battery and then wiring up their effects permanently so we can get this thing finished. Let's make that happen. Oh, hello. We are making some progress. These panels in the middle are on now, nicely fixed in place. And we've got a fix on our side panels. I've pushed them into here for now. Oops. And I was going to use the same brackets I've been using on the front, but I don't think that's going to work out. It's going to just push this too far out. So I'm going to commit to installing these side panels by bonding them in place and then hoping that the LEDs work and I don't need to take them off, because yeah, that could be a problem. So I've got to work out some way to bond this and hold it in place. I need to keep this lower panel on, which gives me my height that the side panels sit on. I should be able to take the top one off, which will then mean I can clamp at the top, and then once I've done that, take the bottom one off, and then I can stick some more clamps on the bottom side. I have done the same round here, and then once that's set, we'll give it another day. We can then start looking at connecting up the WLED and getting these effects to do what we want them to do, hey? So it's the start of December, right? And 2 minutes ago, it was sunny. Now it's raining, and if you look down there, you'll notice it's a little bit wet down here, and that's because we had a storm which blew off the end sheet of corrugated plastic. For now, I've left it. I'm probably going to need to put a temporary cover on, but all of this needs a proper roof, and I am still thinking solar panels. It's a north-facing roof shaded by the house, so it's almost pointless to put solar panels on, but it might still be interesting to see if we get anything from the reflected light, hey? We'll find out. Oops, I forgot that was there. Okay, so with that top panel out of the way, I'll be able to stick a couple of clamps towards the top here. I'm gonna run some sandpaper, key it, and allow the adhesive to stick. I'll put the adhesive onto the metal and then stick the panel into it, hey? Now, let's get going, and this time, I'll try not to drop any panels. The old silicone tube removed. Every time I work with one of these silicone tubes, I have black on my hands from getting the old one out. It was kind of set and jammed in. I always finish the project and then I'll go inside and then find I've got a bit behind my ear or something. Maybe it's just me, but this stuff gets everywhere. Got to try and not get this on the camera. That's looking good so far. Let's clamp the front side up. Before I go to town clamping this, I'm just doing one final check to make sure it's in the right position. Here's to hoping we never need to take the side panels off, right? Now, this side is much the same. We just have a soil pipe here, which I might actually be able to use to butt something down this gap to just wedge this against it while it sets for the next 24 hours or so. And yes, I've just touched my coat, but somehow not got any on there. I must have touched it on the bit of metal below. Oh, that's a winner. One of the things that I have been doing with this is making adjustments. You can see here that we have our nut on the inside of there and a nut on the outside. That's meant that I've been able to bring this in and out ever so slightly just to match up with the panels that we've got and to fix our dimensions, because even though I've mapped these up and sent off the drawings to be correct, they have needed an ever so slight adjustment. But with the way that we've designed this, that option has been there. So let's get on with it, eh? Our key area is this here. It's got to sit just above that edge there. Don't want it to touch until I'm ready. Now that is looking good, so let's clamp that up. I'm just running my hand along to bomb this into place. I've got a good view from the inside and we're not seeing that much ooze out, and the back one's solid, so it's not going to be coming through the channel. And what I can see here, it's nicely sat around. Okay, so I've got to work out where exactly I'm going to be putting this box. I think it looks really pretty. It's been designed with lots of colours, and that appeals to me. I couldn't help myself but put this in a clear box. And then on the end of this, we have our two connections, which we can then attach to these two studs that are up here. Whereabouts? I don't want to stick it on the penthouse cover. I mean, it doesn't really need to be fixed down, or I could actually rest it. No. While I try and work out where I'm going to put this box, let's get making up some cabling. See how many we can squish through this hole, hey? Now up here in this dark abyss of battery, we've got a few holes that were previously used to bolt the battery down. So I'm thinking we can put a couple of washers either side and use those to mount up this box. By creating a new segment in WLED and connecting LED strips up to some of the dig quad's other inputs, I'm then also able to backlight the central areas. If we use a Home Assistant entity that reports if there's an issue, such as a reported BMS fault, we can turn that white background, or whatever colour we want it to be, to a red error backlight. Pretty smart, hey? I'll share the code that ChatGPT came up with. If anybody's interested to look over it and maybe offer some improvements and suggestions, then I'm all ears, okay? With little to no experience in controlling LEDs, I'm pretty sure I skipped that Arduino tutorial. I didn't exactly know how to evenly distribute the light from our LEDs through the acrylic sheets, so that was a bit of a learning curve. So we've got these acrylic panels which are frosted. They're specifically designed for LEDs, so we'll find out there. Apparently 51% of the light it lets through, whatever that means. But we can put these behind our logos, both the Tesla one here and the Tesla one above, and backlight it around the edges. But I have just noticed, it tells us here, important information, please read. But what is the important information? I tried using some channels which I had lying around and bonded this to the panels, allowing the light to spread and hoping that this would give a fairly even spread. And then I designed and 3D printed some brackets to hold the channel at 90 degrees to the acrylic sheet. Now, the big panel has been bonded on there. I'm in the garage and it's on top of something which you'll just have to find out later on what that is. But it was a big mistake bringing it in here because it's just too big, this panel, to bring in here. I should have waited and brought it in the living room when the kids were in bed, hey? Okay, so that's had a little time to set and I'm pretty happy with that. So let's whip it off and then using the 3D printed brackets, we'll bond it to the underside of the opposite side, and then hopefully the light will emanate up from there. I've had these off a few times now, so I'm starting to get used to the routine. Step one, take that out of the way. And we'll slide it off. You know, this reminds me, how much of your mistakes or problems are you meant to show on these videos? We don't exactly want people to misunderstand and think a project like this is easy now, do we? While I wait for yet more adhesive to cure, I swear I could have finished this project much quicker if it wasn't waiting for adhesive to cure. Also, I didn't expect to put my 19mm sockets to so much use in this video series. For these backlights, we don't need the light to be too strong. It just needs to give the impression of being alive, and it worked. One extra feature that I felt would be useful was to turn off these lights during the hours when we'd usually be in bed, as they're just pointless being on then, hey? And I've added that into the code. This automatically turns the LEDs into an off state at a certain time and then turns them back on at a certain time. Oh, hello. We are so close to having this thing finished now. All we've got to do is put our cladded panels on and then peel off our nice peely stickers. But before we do that, I want to insulate this battery, but I'll be back. Insulate it, I say. Yes. Well, it's currently winter and we can have temperatures that range from 10 degrees to -10. Woo, global warming. And because of that, I want to see if we clad this with just some thin mineral wool insulation, what effect that will have on the temperatures. I've seen enough temperature difference and I should be able to work out whether there's much of a difference with that. So let's put some of those panels on and then we'll go from there with getting these big panels which are here back on the battery, hey? Okay, we've made a start and I'll put a little bit more down the sides. I'm going to leave the top. I don't want anything near the penthouse because we've already got some extra temperatures there from the PCS, but this should give us an idea whether there is much difference for insulating it. We will find out. There we are. The battery is now cladded from the penthouse point down and it's looking good. Now we can stick these side panels onto their position and kind of get a feel for what this looks like when it's completely finished. And we've got those peely stickers to take off all the sides, haven't we? All right then, let's get peeling these stickers. The very last thing we've got to do. Shall we go with the big panel first and we'll reveal our front colour? There we are. As you can already tell, red for the Founders Edition Tesla Powerwall. Wow, I am happy with the look of that. For now, we've got a rainbow effect on, but we can change this. We can work out whatever we like. I do think that I need to work out something better for the foil that I've got behind there now. I need a better reflector so that the light spreads up this better. But you can let me know in the comments what I could use. What about the side panels? What colour have we gone for these? Well, we shall reveal. We've gone for the black on the side to stand out. Okay, and then I will just do the same thing on this side. You know, I've kind of got used to the white that we've got down here. So all of these colours are very new to me. I've been looking at white for the last, I don't know how many weeks now. Every time I've worked on these panels, they've been in multiple tiny stages. I've been bonding them with that Sikaflex 221, and every single panel has needed to be bonded, then wait before I can put the next panel on. Same with the LEDs. So I've been looking at this and taking panels off and on for the last probably 2 weeks now. So these are very new to me, these colours. Okay, our last couple of panels, the underside is black as well. And then we will go back to the red up the top. Pull that out to about the same point as those, and then I'll just lock it in with this foam under here. Okay, and then for our top piece, we've got to connect up the power. We may as well pull this one off now, haven't we? Sorry, black to blue. The red to our live. Mixing our colours here, as you do. And then the actual colour that matches up will go in yellow as our data cable. So now, with those connected, we have the same rainbow effect on the front of this one. So if I remember right, I slot that side in and lift that side onto there. And there we are. That is the Tesla Powerwall that Tesla didn't make. We've done it. Yes. Look at that. It's my baby, that is. My wife's holding the camera and she's rolling her eyes right now. So YouTube, what do you think of this? Should Tesla have made a Powerwall using EV batteries? Should they have made it look like this? Well, let me know in the comments what you think of this. Now this project is nowhere near done. You saw that insulation. We have not talked about temperatures yet. We have not talked about them at all. And we left a little teaser in the last video about the other battery inputs. Look here. Oh look, we've got 4 cables here. You'll have to wait till next time to find out. Bye!